I just wanted to compare and contrast two kind of similar setups. Um, One is the UAL range trade setup that Kyle traded on Thursday, and another one is Neo's setup earlier this week. And so I wanted to compare and contrast them. So this is an image of the UAL 15-minute, multiple days, couple weeks here, in fact, and you can see this range that it creates here. This is like the overall bigger range, and then you have about an ATR's worth in between. So you have like a sub range here, and then it breaks down, and then it keeps a sub range down here. And Kyle noticed it holding the support down here, and then on this day, on Thursday, got in on that reversal and capitalized all the way up here. Um, but he did talk about how, like, where it was going to stop and where it was going to turn around, and he was thinking like 47 was sort of the area that it was going to eventually turn around at, which I agree. It's sort of the inflection here and the high of these days. So, but I also realized that ATR was a bit more than actually just a 47. I think ATR gets it all the way up to like up here. So it just shows you that when you're in this compression range scenario, the ATRs do get smaller, and so the movement in here is smaller than the stock is used to doing. So it's kind of tricky because you're planning on you're planning on it to only move less than an ATR, or like about as much as it's been moving in this range. However, I think we did notice that it was over 100% RVol on that stock. Maybe it was closer to 110 at the open, and so it gave you that full ATR, even more of a move. So that was kind of cool. Okay, so here's the connection is between this Neo and this UAL. So this Neo is sort of similar in that you have this bigger multi-week range. You have a pretty decent inflection in the middle here. The high is this $40. It's more like $39.75, but we'll just say $40. And then the low is like $36.75. So you see how it held here, then got under, and it couldn't break, and then it broke above, then it was holding in here, then it sold down, and then it went all the way back up. Okay, and so the difference with this trade is that you kind of have the same range, compression, lowering ATR probably, etc. However, you had news on Neo on this pre-market, right? And if you notice, it goes all the way down to the bottom of the range, kind of like UAL did. I guess UAL did it a bit more at the open, whereas Neo did it more in the pre-market, which I don't think that's that big of a deal. I mean, you can even say 2 days before here, you can see how it flushed down similarly to the UAL, and you got a nice perfect move back up here. But the difference with this is what I want to talk about is the catalyst and the RVol. Like, this had a pretty decent catalyst and higher RVol, and you could see that in the pre-market. And so it's like when we're trying to get these support plays, the difference between this support play and the UAL is that one has clearly higher RVol, breakout potential RVol, and a news catalyst. So I think what I'm going to get to is that I think that this setup is a kind of setup that you should be thinking a little bit longer term, maybe even holding for the next day for a swing trade. And the reason is, it doesn't take 100% RVol to get from here to here, or from here to here. It doesn't take 100%. It could take probably 60% RVol. Like on UAL, it was getting from here to here on probably less than 100% RVol. But then so what I'm saying is, if we're down here and we have a ton of volume and a news catalyst, and it's holding this, I mean, it's most likely, what I'm getting at is it's most likely not going to stay in this range much longer, right? Like you need that amount of volume normally to break out of a range here or here. And so if we happen to get the opportunity to get in down here because we realize, okay, this support is holding, you know, unless the stock does something wacky and just doesn't make up its mind, takes all day to accumulate, which that's the whole idea. I guess that's risk management, right? And just waiting for the actual move to happen. But like, you know, if we get in somewhere at the open here, we get up to inflection and, you know, high R vol, etc. We break out of inflection here and we're moving up. We need to be thinking, well, we have high R vol. This thing is probably starting its next expansion is what I'm trying to get at. It's not needing this much R vol just to get from here to here. It's needing this much R vol because it knows what it's about to do and it's about to expand. So we see a nice setup like this and we get the catalyst, then we should be thinking like that. A lot of times, you know, we see a stock and it has news and catalyst, and say it was this stock, we'll say it gapped up here. Okay, and then it flushes down, we get in long, and then we're this way, right? Great. But like that cuts off some of the opportunity because down here you have high R vol, you've been stuck in this lower R vol range. It's starting its expansion traverse here. And so if you notice, within half the day it gets up here, boom, super fast, super hard, pulls down, you get a nice pullback, halfway down this like top half here, which I think is cool because now look, it creates its new value range here, you know, breakout potential here, new value range, holds it in the pre-market, flushes down a little bit. You can either, you know, so say we hold some position, say we make money all the way up here, and then we're just going to hold on to it and see what it does tomorrow. Maybe we think it's going to gap up tomorrow up here. Well, no, it doesn't, but sure enough, it holds this. So then we can either add in or hold on to it until it hits the top of this range. Hopefully R vol continues and momentum continues, which it does, and hits this pretty well with volume and doesn't even really look back. And so that's when we could either partial sum or add in, and that's your next move. And then you can see it makes its next little value range here. And this whole thing is expansion happening. So I don't know, I just think that's really cool, and we need to notice that. Like, we're getting really good at these range trades, right? From here to here, here to here, or here to here, right? These R3 to S3 trades, normally they're on lower volume. But when we get high R vol catalyst, and when we can play this range better, and we can play against these levels, I think that's when you can make it a multi-day move, because you have two 10 out of 10 important levels that if you can potentially be next to throughout the whole expansion process, then we should be thinking of swinging it or adding in for a bigger idea. You know, we get in here, say we have this big idea, we get in somewhat small here just to make sure that this isn't going to do anything wacky, like come up to inflection and then turn around and then it makes its move down here, you know, hits this, and then this was actually the way it wanted to go. Like we do a small position here, we make sure it doesn't want to do that. Sure enough, it doesn't. It comes all the way up here. Then we partial maybe pretty heavy up here and make sure that it doesn't want to just bounce off of this straight down. But you know, you see how it holds the top quarter percentile here, and then we just have to be thinking bigger here. So I just thought that was pretty cool, and maybe you guys can find some other similar stocks or setups, and we can sort of look at the differences with these breakouts, and maybe like sort of seeing the breakout happen before it happens, or seeing the expansion happen before it breaks out of that expansion. We can sort of see it being created, and we can turn it into a multi-day, higher time frame trade.